I woke up this morning and my knees told me the weather before my eyes were open. That is not a figure of speech. 40 years of walking this land, 11 years underground before that, and the body keeps a record of every single one. My hands were stiff before my feet hit the floor. My lower back had already decided it was going to be a long day. If you are over 50 and you work with your body, you know exactly what I am talking about. You know the sound your knees make on a cold morning. You know what it costs to bend down and pick something up off the ground. And you know what is in your medicine cabinet right now. A bottle of ibuprofen. Maybe two. Maybe one in the kitchen and one in the truck and one in the barn because you need it that often. My name is Silas Combs. I have lived in Harlan County, Kentucky my whole life. And I want to talk to you today about what is in that bottle, what it is doing to you that nobody told you about, and what my wife May has been making in this kitchen every September for 30 years. It does the same thing without any of it. I am going to be straight with you right at the start. I am not a doctor. This is traditional knowledge passed down through families in these mountains for generations. If you have a serious medical condition, you need to see a doctor. What I am going to share with you today is what has worked in this house on this land for a long time. But your health is your responsibility and nobody else's. Now, let me tell you about ibuprofen. You probably think of it as safe. It is over the counter. They sell it next to the candy bars. Your doctor probably told you to take it. You can buy a bottle of 200 for $8 at the grocery store and nobody asks you a single question about it. There are more than 30 million Americans taking ibuprofen or a drug like it on any given day. The average American household spends over $300 a year on over-the-counter drugs. Pain pills are at the top of that list. Advil, Motrin, Aleve, the generic store brand that comes in a jug the size of your fist. Here is what they do not print on the front of the bottle. Ibuprofen works by shutting down something your body makes called prostaglandins. I will keep it plain. Prostaglandins are what cause the swelling and the pain in your joints. So the pill shuts them down and you feel better. But prostaglandins also do something else. They protect the lining of your stomach. They keep blood flowing to your kidneys. They help your heart do its job. So when you shut them down to stop the pain in your knee, you are also stripping the protection off your stomach, your kidneys, and your heart at the same time. You just do not feel that part. Not at first. The research on this is not hidden. It is not controversial. It is sitting right there in medical journals that anyone can read. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen are responsible for over 100,000 hospitalizations every year in the United States. Thousands of deaths, stomach bleeding, kidney failure, heart attacks. And those are just the people who end up in a hospital. That does not count the millions walking around with stomach pain they blame on something they ate or kidney trouble they do not connect to the bottle of pills they take every morning. And here's the part that gets me. Most of the people taking ibuprofen every day are over 50. The people with the most wear on their joints. The people whose stomachs and kidneys and hearts are already working the hardest, those are the people most at risk from this drug. And those are exactly the people who take the most of it. One study found that 60% of people taking over-the-counter anti-inflammatories had no idea there were serious side effects. They thought if you could buy it without a prescription, it must be safe. 26% were taking more than the recommended dose. They figured if 2 pills work, 4 pills work better. It does not. It just moves the damage along faster. Now, I did not come here today to scare you. I came here to show you what is growing in May's herb patch right now, about 30 feet from this kitchen window, that does not do any of that to you. It does not touch your stomach, it does not touch your kidneys, it does not touch your heart, because you do not swallow it. You rub it on. And it has been doing the job for longer than any pharmaceutical company has existed, 2,000 years longer. The plant is called comfrey, Symphytum officinale, if you want the name they put in the books. But around here, and in most of the old mountain families, it is called knitbone. That name tells you everything. People have been using this plant to heal broken bones, mend sprains, and take swelling out of joints since before the Roman Empire. The Latin name comes from the Greek word symphytus. It means to grow together. Every language that has a word for this plant named it after what it does. The Germans call it beanwell. Bean means bone, well means to grow together. The French call it consad, which means to weld. 2,000 years, across every country in Europe, across the mountains of Appalachia where the Scots-Irish brought it with them, across every homestead and farm that grew it beside the fence line. People called this plant the one that knits things back together. May's grandmother grew it. Her grandmother before that grew it. The plant in our herb patch right now is a division from a root that has been in May's family for longer than anyone living can account for. That is not marketing. That is not a brand story. That is a plant that earned its name the old way, by working. Now here is why it works, and I will keep it plain. Comfrey contains a compound called allantoin. Allantoin does something remarkable. It speeds up the production of new cells, skin cells, connective tissue, the tissue around your joints. When you rub it on a sore knee, it is not covering up the pain. It is telling your body to repair faster. That is a different thing entirely from what ibuprofen does. Ibuprofen shuts something down. Comfrey speeds something up. One is a wall, the other is a door. The second compound is called rosmarinic acid. This is the one that handles the pain and the swelling. Rosmarinic acid reduces inflammation. And here is where it gets interesting. It works on the same pathway that ibuprofen works on. The same prostaglandins. The same chemical process. But it does it through the skin, locally, right where you put it. It does not go through your stomach. It does not pass through your kidneys. It works where you need it and stays where you put it. This is not folk belief. This is not superstition. This is chemistry. They have tested this. Real studies, real scientists, real patients with real arthritis. In a clinical trial on knee osteoarthritis, patients using comfrey ointment saw their pain drop by 55% in 3 weeks. The placebo group saw 11%. In another study on ankle sprains, comfrey cream cut pain in half within 3 days and sped recovery more than twice as fast as the placebo. And in one trial, comfrey performed as well as diclofenac gel. Diclofenac is a prescription anti-inflammatory. A plant that grows by the fence matched a prescription drug in a controlled study. The pharmaceutical company calls it a proprietary formula. Papaw called it a weed. Except he did not call it a weed. He called it knitbone, and May calls it essential. Because it is. Let me tell you how May makes this salve. She has been doing it the same way every September for as long as I have known her, and she learned it from watching her grandmother do the same thing in the same kitchen. The process takes some patience. It is not hard. It just takes time. You will need 4 things. Dried comfrey root. You can use the leaf too, but the root is stronger. It has more allantoin, more rosmarinic acid. May uses root from our own plants. If you do not grow comfrey, you can buy dried comfrey root online. A pound of organic dried comfrey root costs between $8 and $12. That pound will make more salve than you can use in 2 years. The second thing is olive oil. Plain olive oil. Not extra virgin, not the expensive kind. Just regular olive oil. A bottle from the grocery store. $2 or $3. The third thing is beeswax. If you know a beekeeper, you probably already have some. If not, a block of beeswax costs $2 to $4 online. 1 block will last you a long time. The fourth thing is optional. May adds a few drops of lavender oil. That is her preference. You do not need it. The comfrey does the work. The lavender just smells nice. Here is the process. First, you take your dried comfrey root and you break it up. Not a powder, just rough pieces. May uses about a cup of dried root per batch. You put it in a mason jar. A wide mouth quart jar works fine. Then you pour olive oil over the root until the root is covered by about 1 inch of oil. Put the lid on, set it somewhere warm. A windowsill works. The top of the refrigerator works. May puts hers on the shelf above the wood stove where it stays warm through September and October. You are going to leave it there for 4 to 6 weeks. Every few days, give the jar a gentle shake. What is happening in that jar is an infusion. The oil is slowly pulling the allantoin, the rosmarinic acid, and every other compound out of that root and into the oil. This is the old way. There is a faster way if you are impatient. You can put the jar in a pot of water on the stove, bring the water to a low heat, and let it set for 4 to 6 hours. A slow cooker on the lowest setting works too. But the cold infusion, the way May does it, extracts more. The heat method is faster. The cold method is better. After 4 to 6 weeks, the oil will be dark. It will smell like the earth. That is what it should smell like. Strain it through cheesecloth into a clean jar. Squeeze every drop out of that root. What you have now is comfrey infused oil. You could stop right here and use it. Some people do. May does not. She turns it into a salve because a salve stays where you put it. Oil runs. Take your infused oil and pour it into a small pot or a double boiler. May uses a double boiler because she does not want to overheat it. For every cup of infused oil, you add about an ounce of beeswax. That is roughly 2 tablespoons, grated or chopped small. Heat it gently until the beeswax melts into the oil. Stir it together. If you are adding lavender oil, this is when you do it. 3 or 4 drops, no more. Pour it into small jars or tins while it is still warm and liquid. It will set up as it cools into a firm salve. That is it. That is May's comfrey salve. The whole batch takes about 15 minutes of actual work, plus the waiting time for the infusion. Now let me tell you what it cost. Comfrey root, about $8 a pound, and you will use maybe $2 worth per batch. Olive oil, maybe $1 worth. Beeswax, maybe 50 cents worth. The total cost of a batch that fills 4 to 6 small jars is under $4. $4. If you buy comfrey salve online, a 2-ounce jar runs $12 to $30 depending on who made it and what label they put on it. An Amish-made comfrey salve I saw online was $30 for 4 ounces. A wellness brand was selling comfrey cream for $28 for 3.5 ounces. May makes a year's supply for the cost of a sandwich. And it is stronger because she uses root, not leaf, and she lets it infuse for 6 weeks instead of running it through a factory. Now, here is the part I will not skip because it matters. Comfrey is for external use only. Do not eat it. Do not make tea from it. Do not put it in a smoothie. Comfrey contains something called pyrrolizidin alkaloids, in the root especially. If you consume these internally, over time, they can damage your liver. This is serious. This is why the FDA banned comfrey products meant for internal use back in 2001. But here is the thing. Nobody in these mountains ever ate comfrey. Not May's grandmother, not May, not anyone who knew what they were doing. It has always been a topical remedy. You rub it on, you do not eat it. The skin absorbs the healing compounds. The liver never sees the alkaloids in any meaningful amount. That is how it was always used. That is how you should use it. On unbroken skin only. Do not put it on an open wound. Do not put it on a deep cut. Comfrey heals fast. So fast that if you put it on an open wound, the skin on top can close before the tissue underneath is healed. That can trap an infection. So you use it on closed injuries. Sore knees, aching backs, stiff hands, swollen joints, bruises, sprains, old injuries that talk to you on cold mornings. That is what this is for. May keeps a jar of this in the kitchen cabinet year-round. She keeps one in the bathroom. There is one in my workshop. I use it on my knees after a long day of walking the property. I use it on my hands when they stiffen up in winter. Thomas rubs it on his shoulders after working cattle. If we were buying ibuprofen the way most families do, we would be spending $50, $60, maybe $100 a year on pills that eat our stomachs from the inside. Instead, we spend $4, and May makes a salve that goes where it is needed, does what it is supposed to do, and does not damage a single organ in the process. The pharmaceutical company did not invent pain relief. They packaged it in a tablet and put their name on it and charged you for it and did not mention what it was doing to your insides. May's grandmother did not have a brand name. She had a plant in the yard and the knowledge to use it. That is all you need. Let me show you one more thing before I go. Comfrey is one of the easiest plants on earth to grow. If you have a patch of ground that gets partial shade, comfrey will grow there. It grows in poor soil. It grows in rich soil. It comes back every year. Once you plant it, you will never need to buy it again. It spreads. May planted 6 comfrey plants behind this kitchen 20-some years ago. We now have a patch that would supply this whole holler with salve if they ask. You can buy comfrey root divisions from any herb nursery for $3 or $4 each. Plant 3. That is $12. You will have comfrey for the rest of your life, and your children will have it after you. 4 generations of May's family have used the same patch. That is what a real medicine cabinet looks like. Not a plastic bottle from a factory that shuts down the systems your body needs to protect itself. A plant in the ground that your grandchildren can still use. The cost of pain relief in this country is not just money. It is stomach lining. It is kidney function. It is heart risk that nobody explains to you when they hand you the bottle. May's salve costs $4 a batch. It works where you put it. It does not go where it is not needed. And it has been doing the job since before this country existed. If you want to try it, I have given you everything you need. 4 ingredients, 15 minutes of work, a month of patience, and a jar of something your body will thank you for. Tell me in the comments if you have seen comfrey growing near you. Tell me if your grandmother or your papaw called it knitbone. I would like to hear that. If this was useful to you, subscribe. New video every few days. None of it will cost you much. I will see you down the road.